Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Liberate Your Money, episode 39. It is August 2nd. We just had the most bullish week of price action that we've had since the drop in May. So I figured we'd do a little video and talk about where we're at in the cycle. Last video, we were right down here after the big 50-55% drop. It was a terrible couple of weeks in the crypto markets. A lot of people were there. I mean, there was FUD all over the place. We talked about it in the last video. I mean, it was coming from all angles. The main driver from this, come to find out, was the miner capitulation in China. China cracked down on their miners, so a lot of them had to sell and relocate, which put a lot of downside pressure on the market, as miners had to cover costs of moving. And then we had the miner difficulty adjustment. Whenever there's a major mining event, like what happened in China, there usually ends up being a difficulty adjustment, and since then we've honestly just had a crabbing market, and by crabbing I mean it's just been ranging. And if we look, we can draw some lines that will kind of help us point that out. We got the top of the range there in blue, the bottom of the range there in blue as well. So for basically the past 2.5 months, Bitcoin has been in this range, and it's just been chopping up traders. If you were trading in this range, or if you were buying hoping for it to pump right away, you probably had a really bad time. In the last video, I basically told people, look, these 50% drawdowns are natural, especially when you go up 300% in a matter of months. You're going to see some significant drawdowns. Now, we hadn't seen one this bad in a really long time. There's like one other 50% drawdown that's happened before in the history of Bitcoin, and this was the second time it happened. And so it's nothing new necessarily, but it is a rare event, and we got to be careful around it, especially when we're mid bull run cycle. Something like this could potentially put an end to the bullish momentum. But as we talked in the last video, we were kind of kicking around these two ideas, right? It's, you have to decide, do you believe that we are in a bearish market now, where the markets have turned, we stopped making higher highs, and now we're making lows? We basically asked ourselves, are we in this stage of the marketplace where we had the initial drop and now we're waiting for a dead cat bounce before we eventually go lower? Or are we in this first sell-off of the bull market, where it kind of has that rounded topping action, just like we seen here? See, this wasn't a blow-off top, and in previous bull markets, Bitcoin always had a blow-off top. Now these markets are more sophisticated, big-time players that know how to market make and paint signals on a chart, especially for a nascent asset like Bitcoin. So maybe we just don't have that blow-off top this time around, but relative to past cycles, I gotta believe that we're probably gonna see some sort of blow-off top. So my belief, go back to the last video and listen to it. I said I think that we're in this part of the cycle where it is the initial sell-off, and we really haven't seen that major parabolic run. And the past week's price action kind of gave us hope that that was the case. We were ranging. It started to look really ugly right here. I mean, this basically just looked like capitulation, right? Except we never really had like that long wick down to capitulate. It was just like lower high, lower low, lower high, and it was just like, I remember the market sentiment was just absolutely dead down here. Everyone thought that we were going to 24 to 20K. It was just ridiculous. And then the B word event happened, which was put on by ARK Investments, Kathy Wood, put on this event where she had Elon Musk talk and Jack Dorsey, and they all just kind of gave their stance on Bitcoin and kind of cleared up a lot of the FUD, I thought, because, you know, Elon, he runs Tesla, which is an energy company, right? And obviously he's going to be conscientious about the environment and the green energy impact of Bitcoin. So like he kind of cleared up that issue, like where he said he hasn't sold any of his Bitcoin, which is ultra bullish. I think there's a lot of people that thought that he did, based on his comments towards the top before the initial drop. You know, he was saying that Bitcoin was carbon intensive and yada yada. It almost sounded like he was going to sell it and never be for Bitcoin for a while. And I think that this B word conference kind of cleared a lot of that up. Like, he's still bullish Bitcoin. He talked about how the trajectory of green energy being used for mining is on the right path, and that he thought it would be over 50%, and that Tesla would accept Bitcoin for payments again. So all of that was bullish news, you know, for all the people that think that Elon is God and what he believes is, you know, how things should be. I think that was bullish news. And honestly, we've pumped ever since that B word conference. Now, I don't know if that's the reason why we pumped. It's just kind of a coincidence, right? That like we were down here, the B word event happened, and we had 8 green actually we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 green candles in a row. And we actually had a daily close above the range, which is bullish, right? But then we came crashing down and we're back. We had a daily close back into the range. So now this looks like a it looks like a deviation where we are back into the range, and now who knows what could happen. You know, we could come down here, go up. I could see something like that. But back to these candles, 10 green candles in a row. The only other time that happened in Bitcoin's history was right, where is it at? Right here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green candles. You had 8 green candles at the start when we were breaking out of 20K, the previous all-time high. This is the consolidation below the previous all-time high. Right here, right? So what happened after we had those 8 daily green candles? We consolidated a little bit, and then we literally just continued the bull run. So 10 green daily candles in a row, like, I think that says a lot, you know? I mean, this was obviously like a short squeeze, but like to a certain extent, there were like, it gained traction and we had buyers step in, and the price action has been relatively getting bought up pretty aggressively on any dip. Until we broke this range high, and then we started to see some aggressive selling. Now we're back into the range, so it doesn't look great as far as, you know, being range bound, but like 10 daily green candles in a row plus making a higher high, right? Because before this was our high, we came up and actually made a higher high, so like that's bullish. Now we have to confirm a higher low and continue the trend. I kind of came up with some ideas. This was a little bit before we had that deviation above this range high. I tweeted this July 26th, just tweeting out some different ideas I had, and I could see this happening. We had a deviation above this black line, and now we're back below the black line, and I could see us traveling down here to that 34.6, 35K-ish area. As you can see by the volume profile, that's where a lot of the volume, the next layer of support would be. if we continue to come down into the range. If this doesn't hold, that's not good. If we lose that 34.6, 35K area right here, I don't think this range low is gonna hold again. I really don't. That would be 1, 2, 3 tests of the low. It would be the 4th test of the low. I think we would break through it and probably see that 24K, which is obviously still possible, guys. I'm not saying that we're ultra bullish right here, but things are pointing up. They are looking a lot better than they did a week ago, and my bullish thesis is starting to kind of come to fruition, right? Because my belief was that we are in this first sell-off. We're going to find a bottom around that 30K area, which we have. Now we're at the top of the range, and we want to see bullish continuation. And so far, that's what we're seeing. We just need to get that confirmation above this blue line. I want to see a strong hold of the daily support at 40.6K. Once that happens, I think we're probably going to teleport to 48, 49K relatively quickly. I saw that we had a daily close above this, and because we had 10 daily green candles in a row, I was kind of cautious. Like, probably shouldn't long this because we're due for some relief, right? Plus, it's like high time frame support or resistance, so you don't want to long in those situations because deviations like this happen a lot, and that's exactly what it did. So now that we're back below it, I am waiting for us to come down and test this blue line right here around 35K, or I'm waiting for us to get a confirmation back above this 40.6, 40.7K area. Once that happens, I think that triggers a nice long opportunity to this 48 to 49K area. And that's going to be this line right here. I'm going to make it extra bold. We'll make it red even. 48.7. It's a major level for me. That's going to be the test for me for this continuation of the bull run cycle. Because if it's not, if we aren't going to continue the bull run, and it is this, you can see how price bounces that complacency shoulder. It bounces pretty hard and looks like the bullish continuation is going to happen, just like Bitcoin looks like right now. But it gets back up into this area where price was chopping before, and then it gets shut down, and then it comes down hard, and that's when you see real fear and capitulation. And that's when I think that we will come down to 24K. But until then, we need to first crush this 40.6K level, get above that, and then 48 to 49K is going to be the next major level. Psychologically, I noticed that, the tens, as soon as we got above 10,000, it seems like the rounded numbers, 10, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 are major resistance levels. Down here, 30K was the level. Right here, 40K is the level. Right here, 50K is the level. And that's just something you can keep in the back of your mind. Like, psychologically, we as humans, we like to simplify things. Rounded numbers tend to be support and resistance levels now that we are in the tens of thousands of dollars. So, in layman's, without speaking exact numbers, we want to get above 40K, and then we're going to be testing 50K, and then so on. And then we'll test 60 to 64K, which is all-time high. And from there, my targets remain 85K to 150K is where I think this bull run's probably going to ultimately end up. And then when we correct, I honestly think that we're probably going to correct and end up right around here. I think this is where the bottom of the market's going to be, somewhere in that 60 to 30K range. So once we hit that 150 to 85K, I think the next prolonged bear cycle will see us chop down, make lower lows, lower highs, all the way down to 50K. We'll call it 50K area where we're at right now, 40 to 50K. And then I think that's probably where we'll bottom and start the next cycle around the next halving. But right now, it feels like, we talked about it in the last video, how the time from the halving to this supposed top in the market was the shortest ever in the cycle that the Federal Reserve printed the most amount of money ever, trillions of dollars, because of the pandemic and infrastructure spending and yada yada yada. And it's like that liquidity is going, we're seeing inflation everywhere. I mean, housing is up 25% year over year. Used vehicles are up. That's more of a supply side issue because new vehicles are pretty scarce these days. But like, we're seeing inflation all over the board, and a lot of that is because the Fed printed money, and they will never admit that, but that's exactly the reason why. That's why housing, schooling, what else? Your vehicles, basically all the main items that people aspire to acquire in their lives are going up in price massively, making it very hard for lower income people to acquire. And that's why we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an asset class that anybody can participate in to protect their wealth. And even though it has 50% drops, it's still better at protecting your wealth than the US dollar, because it averages a 200% increase every year. That's a better store of value than gold. That's a better store of value than the US dollar. Just because it dropped from 64K to 30K, in a couple months span, doesn't mean that it's a bad store of value. It just means that it's volatile, and that was a good dip buying opportunity. And the sooner people understand that, the more that they can capitalize on these moves and not be so fearful and not panic sell when they happen, and actually be encouraged when they happen, because they provide opportunities to either dollar cost average, to buy cheaper Bitcoin, to get some of your friends that don't have exposure yet to get involved so that they're not buying the top. So it's an opportunity. It's a shift in mindset. We talked about it in the last video. These downturns like this are a great time to not only buy, but like just to understand crypto better, so that it's easier for you to buy when the time is right. Because if you don't know why you're buying, it's going to be really tough to buy. And if you don't know why you're buying, it's going to be really tough to hold when we have these 50% drawdowns. So hopefully this, the reason why I did all this was for my friends and family, to help them make more informed decisions and take control of their financial lives. And hopefully this is providing some useful insight on how you guys can capitalize on the markets, or at least see what I'm seeing and, help you better make decisions on your own, right? Because ultimately it's your decision, it's not mine. I'm not an advisor. So yeah, that's where I think we're at in the marketplace. Things are actually looking bullish again, guys. We made a higher high. We're stuck back into the range, which sucks, but like I said, if we come down here, test this 35K, get back above that 40.6, test 50K, that's going to be the real test, guys. 50K, 48, 50K. We get back above that and hold on to your freaking hats, man. We're going to 100K. And I think it's going to happen by at least Q1 of 2022. I really think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be, we could top out before the end of the year, just like in 2017. It was like right at the end of 2017, we had that mega bull run, and then we just topped right at 2018, and we had the bear market. And I can totally see that happening end of the year, or maybe a month or two into next year. But that's all I got, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you got any questions, hit me up. BTCBo on Twitter. I will catch you guys in the next video. Stay safe. All right. Peace out.